I do want to get right back into the headlines and take a look at this video here on your screen. There were some fairly terrifying moments on board a Delta Airlines flight as one of the plane's engines appeared to catch fire there. That is according to the FAA and really the video that you can see on your screen. It happened just before takeoff Monday morning while the aircraft was on the runway at Orlando International Airport. Again, Dylan Wallace providing this video to our Fox 35 Orlando team. Want to discuss all of this further, so let's bring in Matthew Whiz Buckley, Navy Top Gun graduate, an FA-18 fighter pilot, a former commercial pilot, and the founder of No Fallen Heroes Foundation. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here this morning.
Thanks again for having me, Josh. Good to be back.
Of course. Well, first off, I do want to ask you, because you could see that video that we were just watching, and the flames are shooting from the plane. Now, this is an engine, according to the FAA, that did catch fire. What could cause, in your experience, an engine to just catch fire like that?
Well, Josh, obviously 100% speculation on my part, but nearly 4 decades in aviation industry, sometimes there is pooled fuel. After you shut the motor down, sometimes a little bit of fuel can just kind of pool in the engine cell or various other reasons. But it looks like the crew did exactly what they were trained. So, Josh, you know, whenever we go back to the simulator building for recurrent training or an annual check ride, a hot start or a engine fire on startup, they beat that into our brains. So these pilots knew exactly what they were doing. You can actually shut off the fuel flow to the motor and keep the motor cranking. And it looks like that's exactly what they did here, because if you keep the motor cranking, obviously without sending fuel to the engine, you can actually blow out that fire. And you can tell that that's exactly what happened here. Before the crash crew even showed up, that fire was out.
And I'm popping up the video again on the screen just so you can see. This was shot by Dylan Wallace, who was nearby watching as all of this unfolded. Again, this is kind of speculation, but you've seen a lot during your time. How serious is an engine fire like this in terms of risk to passengers, and how well are the aircraft built to contain and handle a fire like this?
Well, obviously, whether it's a submarine or an airplane, fire is not good. But in this case, you know, all the engines have fire extinguisher bottles, multiple with some aircraft. So like we just talked about, you can stop fuel flow to the motor, keep the motor cranking to get wind going through it to help blow that fire out. And then you dump the fire bottles into that motor and it's going to extinguish the fire. Engine fires are extremely rare. And you can see the way that flame's coming out of the back. There's still airflow going through. And then before the clip just went away, it puffed out. So obviously, if you're sitting in the back of an airliner and the engine's on fire, it's gonna look like a little bit of panic. But the crews in the front said, okay, we know our procedures, cold, we're gonna step through these, and it's out. So not supposed to happen, but when it does, it's extremely rare, and the air crews are certified to do it. And real quick, Josh, this was an Airbus, right? So a lot of folks have been freaking out a lot about Boeing lately. This was a different airplane, different company. So let's not kind of start stringing everything together like, oh man, you know, there's not a really common theme behind all of these mishaps, Josh. The main common theme to me, and a little while ago, you said in a lot of experience, which ages me, but let's just say for a third of my aviation career, Josh, we didn't have cell phones. Right, everybody had a cell phone yesterday, either from the terminal or in the airplane. I mean, heck, people can live stream these things immediately with any mishap. For most of, a third to half my career, we didn't know about this stuff, and let's just say it's more common than not.
Does air traffic control play any sort of role in a situation like this? I know that's been a topic of discussion with air traffic control since we've seen some of these aircraft-related incidents. Do they play any role? Do they jump into action here in any way?
Almost 0% in this case. If anything, the ground controller would roll the crash trucks. But those crash crews are highly trained. They're sitting, usually hanging out near the runway, and they probably saw the smoke before the air traffic controllers did. So in this case, this was mainly air crew and the crash folks on the crash rescue folks on the ground. So air traffic control, if anything, would pause, people taxiing around the area and maybe alert the crash crew. But like I said, yeah, if you're a crash fire rescue folks sitting, you're waiting for some black smoke to appear, and as soon as you see it, you're rolling your truck over to the aircraft.
In your opinion and expertise, what is maybe the most important takeaway that the public should have from something like this happening?
Josh, don't listen to Whiz. Go to the NTSB. Go to ntsb.gov and look for yourself. The data don't lie, right? So you look at the same, you can enter it on your own. You look at the same time period, these 4 months last year, and you look at this year, and many of you will be shocked to see that last year had more aviation mishaps than this year. For whatever reason, I mean, we can go partisan, we can go conspiracy, we can do whatever. But for some reason, this year, it seems like these mishaps are getting a lot more attention, whether it's the president or Elon Musk trying to optimize operations in aviation. It's a shiny red ball. This is red meat to people. Anytime, it's sad because anytime I see one of these mishaps immediately online, I start seeing the reactions, and I'm like, man, this has absolutely nothing to do with any of that. But we're in a hyper partisan political environment, which is sad. Aviation is about safety. Let's focus on the issues, not the politics of it.
And that's why I appreciate you being on here to help clarify. A lot of times you are seeing these pop up on social media, and you do have people who say this is happening more and more, but really we're just hearing about it more and seeing more of those videos. So I appreciate you making that clarification. Is there anything else you want to add? Anything I left out before I let you go here?
Josh, I think last time you and I talked, I have to say this. Sadly, 120 people on average in this country pass away in motor vehicle accidents every day. Thank God that 120 people are not passing away in aviation mishaps on a daily basis. But obviously, when something like this happens, it really is going to get the news. It's not passé to say that it is more dangerous driving to and from the airport than it is flying.
All right, Matthew Whiz Buckley, thank you so much for taking the time, as always, to be here with us. We appreciate it.
You bet, Josh. God bless. We'll see you.